And now, it's Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Gray.
It's going to get fun tonight as Simon Fudge and I get into the starting 11 in just about 10 minutes' time. And a lot of fun topics to get into in that. Plus, we're going to drop our protected list as the Vancouver Whitecaps get set for the expansion draft. That's next month. Who's going to be protected? Who's going to be left unprotected? Simon and I will give you our thoughts on the topics, plus the dispersal draft of Chivas USA players in about a week and a half. Do you select anyone? Do you want anybody from Chivas USA? And what should the philosophy be going into that? All topics on tonight's program. Good evening and welcome to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk, right here on CL 650 Radio in Vancouver. We are broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios, barberandco.ca. My name's Tyler Green. You can follow me on Twitter at TylerGreenFC. The show is available to the world at CIL650.com, whether you want to listen live or check out the webcast or download the podcast, CIL650.com. Thank you for listening to us. The first half kickoff is brought to you by KO, Kevin O'Toole, and findaproperty.ca. Kevin has a spot in False Creek up for grabs. Great views, great community. Check it out at findaproperty.ca. That's Kevin O'Toole, licensed realtor with Prudential Sussex Realty. Find him online at findaproperty.ca. Well, the Vancouver Whitecaps have some major decisions to make over the next few weeks. First up is the dispersal draft of Chivas USA. The weighted draft goes next Friday. That's when teams find out exactly where they will end up picking. Any team that made the Major League Soccer playoffs this year will get one envelope. Any teams that miss the playoffs gets two envelopes. They will make the draw to find out who goes first all the way to 20th. And then that dispersal draft will be ever so titillating on Wednesday, November 19th. And which player do you select from Chivas USA? Do you draft the best player available? Do you draft depth at a position? Perhaps in the Vancouver Whitecaps case, you don't want to lose David Osted, but you're unsure you want to protect him because there's other players that you might want to protect in the upcoming expansion draft. So maybe you select Dan Kennedy in that dispersal draft, just so you have that backup of two number one goalkeepers, and don't protect either one of them in the expansion draft. So there's depth, possibly, as someone you might draft. Do you bring back Nigel Rio-Coker? Well, not really. I don't think you do that. Do you draft a youngster that maybe has some potential that you'd like to get your hands on and see what they might be able to do in the years to come? And then the second question is, do you protect that player in the upcoming expansion draft? Or is that player just somebody that you're going to pick that is then going to be available yet again to both Orlando City or New York City FC? And who do you protect in that expansion draft? Simon and I will we'll talk about the dispersal draft coming up in the starting 11 in just a few minutes. And then we get into the expansion draft in the second half of the program. And the expansion draft, especially here for the Whitecaps, it could be very interesting to see who the Whitecaps decide to protect. I think most people have 6, 7, 8 players that are pretty much the same. But then it gets interesting with a lot of different takes, and it brings us to tonight's Barber Poll, which of course is presented by barberandco.ca. Which 11 Whitecaps do you protect in the upcoming MLS expansion draft? You can tweet us your thoughts with the hashtag Barber Poll on Twitter at SoccerTalk650, at TylerGreenFC, at SimonFudge74. You can also weigh in on the Barber Poll on our Facebook page, which is facebook.com/SoccerTalkVan. Why not just go to the Facebook page and like it? The Barber Poll is brought to you by Barber & Co., Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Camden 18th, and on the corner of Main and 12th. That's the newest location. Find them on Twitter at Barber & Co., or visit barberandco.ca. That's barberandco.ca. MLS, meanwhile, rolling on. Playoff action this weekend, including a Monday night affair between Seattle and FC Dallas. Talk a little bit about that in the program today. As well, over in Europe, Manchester City having some issues in European play, in the Premier League. We're saved late today, but that would have been disastrous to get a QPR bottom of the table to beat them. Wow, that would have been, well, embarrassing, to say the least. Other big news coming out this week were the rosters for the Canadian men's national team being announced for a friendly with Panama. The camp's starting tomorrow. Russell Teibert making the squad, making a reappearance to that squad, along with Bryce Alderson. Could be a mix of players, but it's an interesting mix of players. But could be very interesting to see Russell Teibert getting back into that squad and seeing exactly where he will fit in. No Tesho Akindele. Declined the invite to Canada. Instead, going to play for FC Dallas in the playoffs against Seattle on Monday. Probably a wise choice to not join up with Canada before that game. But speculation is that the reason that Akindele is turning down Canada is instead to agree to a call-up to the U.S. men's national team, which is being announced this week by head coach Jurgen Klinsmann. Rumor has it, Akindele saying yes to Canada originally, and then Klinsmann possibly getting word and phoning him up and saying, hey, I'm going to pick you for the U.S. squad. Come play for us instead. And Akindele agreeing. The U.S. Going to announce those call-ups after the game on Monday between FC Dallas and Seattle. So that could play a factor in the decision there, as if it is an FC Dallas victory and they move on, you wouldn't think that Akindele would make that move. But perhaps making that move down the road. Meanwhile, Marco Carducci, Kian Sproles, Jordan Haynes, Sam Adekubi, and Marco Bustos, 5 Whitecaps players or residency products, getting the call from the Caps programs anyway, and going to the Canadian U20 squad that's preparing for the CONCACAF Championships in January. Those 3 teams heading over to Europe. To England, actually, on a plane right now, many of them, to do a little bit of a camp and play in some friendlies, all in prep for the CONCACAF Championships. So that should be an interesting mix. 4 former Caps residency products as well. Alex Kamsia, Nolan Worth, Kristen Serban, Sadi Jalali, all former Whitecaps residency products on that U20 squad. A good mix right across Canada with Impact players, Toronto FC players, FC Edmonton players, a few guys in college as well. So an interesting mix of players, and it looks to be an interesting squad. Simon and I will give you our thoughts on that very shortly, coming up here on the program. You, of course, are listening to Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. It is here on CL 650 Radio in Vancouver. And get into Kia Vancouver right now for free lifetime oil changes, car washes, airport parking and shuttle service. Only at BC's #1 Kia dealership. They're at 396 Southwest Marine Drive. It is Kia Vancouver at KiaVancouver.com. Lots to get into in the starting 11. Lionel Messi tied with Raul with 71 goals in Champions League play for the all-time scoring race. And he's got first crack at breaking that record ahead of Cristiano Ronaldo by 1 day, who sits at 70. Lionel Messi at 71. Who's going to break it? Orlando City SC releasing their jerseys this week. Like them? Whitecaps giving fans a little bit of an idea for next year in Champions League or not to Champions League with your season ticket renewals. And we'll talk some Tesho Akindele and Marco Bustos. It's all coming up in the starting 11. And Goal.com's Simon Fudge and I are going to debate that coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CL 650.
What do you want?
A balcony so high it looks down into soccer matches at BC Place.
A pub I can walk to with a dozen big screens.
Kevin O'Toole has created findaproperty.ca to help you find it. Designed to be simply straightforward, findaproperty.ca is an invaluable tool. That's Kevin O'Toole, Prudential Sussex Realty, for buyers and sellers in the greater Vancouver area like you. So find what you want
A backyard big enough for my own soccer pitch.
at findaproperty.ca.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
Dad, are you opening presents before Christmas?
Kids! No, of course not.
Come on, Dad.
Okay, fine. I'm guessing there's 5 video games. Assassin's Creed, Call of Duty, Lego Batman 3, NHL 15, and,
Just Dance?
how'd you know?
It's a gift.
Everyone's excited for the Target Buy 2, Get 1 free game sale. Mix and match everyone's favorite games, now through Thursday. Quantities limited. See Target.ca for details.
Mommy, what does Daddy look like?
Oh, sweetie, you know Daddy. He's give me a minute. I got this.
Your family having trouble remembering what you look like? Chances are you work too far from home.
Daddy has hair that's, blonde.
Find a local job with VancouverJobShop.ca. They have hundreds of jobs in this area, free and easy to use.
He's tall and thin. Oh, no, I just described Mr. Jackson next door. Daddy's bald.
Go local with VancouverJobShop.ca. Long name, amazing results.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
Great song. 80s. Probably one of the best videos of the time. Still probably one of the most classic videos to this. Do people even make videos anymore, actually? If they do, there's not really a channel for them to be played on. Channel you can watch us on is at CL650.com. You can watch the webcast there live or on the podcast version, the webcast version of it all. And if you're watching live, you can notice that Simon Fudge and myself are wearing poppies for Remembrance Day coming up here on the 11th day of the 11th month. Mine, unfortunately, has fallen off about 6 times. I can't get the placement right, Simon.
It's a tough thing to do, isn't it? You know?
I lost it in the car on the drive over. I lost it during the first segment because my mic cord kept rubbing against it and basically pulled it off. I need one of those, in England, the soccer jerseys have the poppies imprinted onto the shirt.
Or a sticker. Might be even a sticker, yeah.
I need to get one of those.
Yeah, I've been kind of thinking, that looks
I need to get one of those because my poppy keeps finding its way off my shirt.
No, the trick is you have to put something behind the pin. You have to put I used to use a little piece of elastic.
Okay.
And that holds it from coming out.
There you go.
There's little tricks to the trade that you haven't learned, I guess.
Apparently not.
No, I guess not, no.
I also have some of the English poppies, which I quite like, the paper ones, where you double pin it. And much better. I'm much better at the poppy when I wear a suit, because you've got the little hole in the lapel. Makes everything so much easier. But I digress. It is starting 11 time. And you can tweet us your thoughts on the starting 11. And it's an interesting one today. On Twitter at Tyler Green FC. Simon, my co-host, Goal.com writer, is at Simon Fudge 74, or the show, of course, is at at Soccer Talk 650, not Simon Talk 650. It's Soccer Talk 650. And we get into the starting 11, and we're going to start with number 1, and it is Lionel Messi. He scored earlier this week in Champions League play to tie Raul with 71 goals in the all-time Champions League goal-scoring race. With Cristiano Ronaldo at 70, it is Lionel Messi, Simon, that gets first crack at breaking the record on November 25th. That's when Barcelona play. Real Madrid play the day later on the 26th. So the question is, Simon, will Messi get it first?
I think he will. And I think the big reason is because they're playing a team called Apoel Nicosia in Cyprus. So I'm thinking the chances of him being in the right place at the right time to break that record are going to be very good. So I will say that he will.
Yeah, unless he gets injured leading up to that match and can't play, he is definitely going to break that record first, in my opinion. He'll get it. Cristiano Ronaldo will then somehow get like 3 goals and break it the next day. And it's gonna be a fun ride though following that, because 1 goal separates them right now, and they're just gonna battle back and forth for really the rest of their careers in that top spot. I think one guy will have it for a couple months, the next guy will get it for a few months after that. But it is going to be fun. But Lionel Messi, I think, is going to break that first.
Yeah, absolutely. Number 2, Manchester City lost their cool and their game against CSKA Moscow this week in the UEFA Champions League. Are they done, and why do they have so much trouble at Europe's top level?
Yeah, I think they're done in Champions League. I don't think they can pull it off and get out of it. They even got to fight a little bit to get that 3rd spot and get into at least Europa now. But it's interesting that they have so much trouble in Europe. It's been the same thing over the last few years. They just can't seem to get over that hump of translating the game that they're playing to that European style. And they're a team with, you look at the type of players that they have on that team, the big names that they have on the team, that should be a team that actually does something in Champions League play, and they just continually haven't gotten it done. And if I knew how they can get out of those struggles, I'd be a very highly paid man by some high-class European teams helping them out. I don't know why they haven't done it, other than, sometimes you can't just go out and buy a team. Sometimes there's something to a little bit of chemistry and bonding and building that team, and maybe that's what they're missing.
Yeah, and I also think balance as well, which is probably the big point to make. They're in deep trouble for me for sure if they're not already done. And that lack of balance in their squad, which I think teams that succeed in Europe, be it Champions League or Europa League, have to have, particularly when they're playing other European clubs. They're going up against sides, you've got to remember, that are not going to be fearful of them. And I think there's a bit of a sense that they've gone and spent all of this money, the teams will respect them to the point that they'll kind of roll over for them, and that's not been the case. And they've got to learn that quite quickly. Manchester United had quite some time to even adjust when they were starting to dominate the Premier League, when they were getting in the Champions League, and then they finally got themselves jigged into being a team that could fight on both fronts. And I think City are still trying to fight towards getting that balance.
Number 3 on the starting 11, and if you're tuned into the webcast, you can get the video of this one as well, because Orlando City Soccer Club has released their inaugural MLS jerseys earlier this week. Simon, do you like them or dislike them?
I like them because they're simple and sleek in the purple colors that they look like. And for me, because it's simple and sleek, it's a very buyable jersey for supporters. And so I think that's why I think they'll get snapped up quite quickly by Orlando City supporters.
For me, they're okay. I don't hate them, and I do like the purple aspect. I do like that color scheme, but I just find them a little bit boring. There's a little bit of, for me, not a lot of thought put into them. They're pretty plain and simple. They do have a little bit of a hoops design with a lighter and a darker purple. I don't hate them, but I don't love them either. For me, I think they could have gotten a little bit more exciting, a little bit more interesting with them, and so I was a little disappointed when they came out. Looking forward to New York City FC's jerseys. Those come out this week, but I think the same thing. I think we're going to get kind of a little bit of a dull thing. I think we're going to kind of get a little bit of a copycat of what Manchester City has right now. We're going to get that baby blue, maybe some white trim.
Yeah, I would agree, and it's probably going to be the same. But then again, that will probably, in my eyes, look fine. So there you go.
Look forward to this question with New York City FC and their MLS jerseys next week.
Absolutely. Number 4, some fans in North America say they don't understand aggregate matches like they have in the MLS playoffs. Would a one-game knockout tournament work better and be more exciting?
I think it would be more exciting in terms of every goal counts, everything matters. You drop points in that game. You play poorly in that game. You don't have that next makeup game to really make it and get through. You're done and dusted. It would also shorten the season a little bit because when is MLS Cup this year? Like first week?
December 7th.
Yeah, December 7th. It's incredible that it's that late. And it's, for me, it just kind of drags out the playoffs, especially when there's a lot of teams that get knocked out. To keep that interest going, I think you've got to shorten it up a little bit. And so I kind of would like to see that. And it really benefits the teams that did well in the regular season because they get the home playoff date. Will it work? No, because the owners are going to want that playoff date. They're going to want the two-leg affair, because then they're going to get that home playoff date. They're going to be able to make some money off of that home playoff date. So it's probably not going to work here in Major League Soccer in North America.
I would agree that it would be exciting, but I don't think it would be fair. And it's because of how much the MLS Cup is looked at as a big prize and what's at stake. And I think what teams have done in the regular season is earn the right to play in the playoffs and battle for it over those two legs to reach that final. It isn't, you're right, probably very much in saying, well, the owners want their own playoff game at home and get the revenue from that. But I think at the same time, it's just what's at stake and the fact that it needs to be a more thorough process of 180 minutes home and home to decide who ultimately goes to the final.
Right now, Kia Vancouver is offering free oil changes, car washes, an airport parking and shuttle service. It is only at BC's #1 Kia dealership, Kia Vancouver, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com. Number 5 on the starting 11. What's more fitting, Landon Donovan or Thierry Henry retiring as an MLS Cup champion?
I'd say Landon Donovan. For what he's done to raise the profile of MLS, I think it would be more fitting if he ended his career as winning another MLS Cup with the LA Galaxy. So I think it would be more fitting with Landon Donovan.
Yeah, spending so much of his career here, helping build the league from a variety of things, and really being the face of U.S. soccer for so many years, I think it would just be absolutely fantastic and very fitting if Landon Donovan was able to retire as an MLS Cup champion. So I would agree with you there.
Number 6, similar question to number 5, but what's better for MLS, Landon Donovan or Thierry Henry retiring as MLS Cup champion?
I think probably it's better for MLS to have Thierry Henry win MLS Cup and retire as an MLS Cup champion, because I think then it shows more on a world stage of a guy who has done it in so many different leagues, so many different places as an MLS Cup champion. And so I think in that aspect, you're going to get that greater marketing and that greater global reach if Thierry Henry wins it and retires a champion.
Totally agree for almost exactly the same reasons. If he lifts the MLS Cup with the Red Bulls, the worldwide headlines would have that much more of an appeal because of who he is. And so I think in a lot of ways be much better for the league if it was won by the Red Bulls and Thierry Henry.
All the MLS scores coming up in just a couple of minutes. In the second half of the program, Simon and I are going to dive into the expansion draft. Who should the Vancouver Whitecaps protect in the expansion draft? Simon and I were just chatting on the drive-in on the program in the Kia Sorrento, and we kind of disagreed on a few of them. So we're going to get into that in the second half of the program. And who would you protect? It is our barber poll. You can weigh in at Soccer Talk 650, at Tyler Green FC, at Simon Fudge 74. It is our barber poll. The question: which 11 Whitecaps do you protect in the upcoming MLS expansion draft? The Barber Poll brought to you by Barber & Co. at barberandco.ca. Coming up, more of the starting 11. We're only coming up to number 7, and it is, what should the Whitecaps do in the dispersal draft of Chivas USA players? Simon and I give you our answers coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Talk about beautiful goalkeeping. During Winterfest, Kia Vancouver is stopping all payments on new 2015 Kia models till next year and stopping winter with a holiday bonus of up to $1,000 towards a 2015 winter-ready model with loads of heated features and rugged winter tires. Hurry in for all the Winterfest saves at Kia Vancouver, where you get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambiet 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today, in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
Vancouver Street Soccer League is the beautiful game at its finest. Teams of men and women who are homeless, have recently been homeless, or are at risk for homelessness get together to train and play matches. It's great fun that builds skill and confidence, and the league sent players to 4 consecutive Homeless World Cups in Milan, Rio de Janeiro, Paris, Mexico City, and Poland. Find out more at VancouverStreetSoccer.com.
Vancouver Street Soccer League. Get into it and get behind it.
It's your money with Fred Snyder.
Buying a bunch of stocks is not a financial plan. Buying some life insurance is not a financial plan. And you can't have naked products. The products have to be part of a plan, and it never is. People, they're out there, they have portfolios of 5, 6, 7 different companies. They're scattered all over the place. They haven't got the foggiest idea of where they're going.
Fred Snyder, Sunday mornings 9 to 11 on Smooth and Easy, CIL 650.
This is the sound of a decision.
All rise.
The choice to drink alcohol and then drive a car. If you kill someone while driving impaired, you should face a long term in jail. That's a deterrent. But too many get off easy. That's a disgrace. At Mad Canada, we believe the victims of impaired driving deserve respect. Offenders deserve jail.
Change for the better.
Mad Canada, helping the victim, stopping the crime.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
80s night here on Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk. By the way, when we heard Aha, great video, of course. We talked about it with the drawings and the race cars, etc.
That's right, yeah.
I got my picture taken down when I went to the EMP Museum down in Seattle for the Whitecaps game. And went to the EMP Museum, and they've got that set up at the museum. So I got my photo taken with... Is Per the lead singer of Aha?
Someone is Swedish, aren't they? Well, they were Swedish, yeah. That's right, yeah.
Or Norwegian.
I think Norwegian.
Yeah,
I was
I think
gonna say.
Norwegian.
Oh, really?
Yes.
News to me.
By the way, we've got a Vancouver Whitecaps / Kia Vancouver toque and a Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk scarf to give away on the program. We'll do that in the next 15 minutes or so. We've got a few of these prize packs to give away. They were going to include playoff tickets, but the Whitecaps, shockingly, not in the playoffs anymore. So we had to take those out because we didn't want people just showing up to BC Place. There are still some teams in the Major League Soccer playoffs, though. One was ousted today, though, and Simon has all the details on that. Brought to you by Dayton Boots, DaytonBoots.com.
Yes, indeed, and it's the New York Red Bulls are on to the Eastern Conference Final, where they'll either play the Columbus Crew and New England Revolution. A goal by Pegulio and Diole was the difference. They lost 2-1 today with TZ United, but won 3-2 on aggregate. So they'll get either New England or Columbus, who play tomorrow in the second leg of their Eastern semi. The Western semi between LA Galaxy and Real Salt Lake goes tomorrow. It's 0-0 on aggregate there. And then on Monday night at CenturyLink Field, Seattle Sounders and FC Dallas face each other in the West semifinal second leg. 1-1 in aggregate in that scoreline.
That was the MLS scoreboard. It is brought to you by Dayton Boots. Mention Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk and take 10% off quality. Handcrafted right here in BC. Dayton Boots, 2250 East Hastings. Dayton Boots, wear the legend that lasts. That's DaytonBoots.com. I actually went to Dayton Boots this week, checked in on the process of my boots. Very cool process, by the way. The factory right there at 2250 East Hastings. Probably going to go again this week. I love going in there because the smell of leather in the back there when they're working on the shoes, fantastic. Still to come on the program, as we do each and every week, we talk injuries with expert physio, but David Sandals is away this week as an anniversary, so he's in New York. So we're going to talk with Thea Gibson from Expert Physio, talk injuries with her about, well, more about the issue that is women are more injury prone in terms of ACL and knee injuries than men are. And so we'll talk a little bit more about that with Thea Gibson coming up at 11 o'clock as well. Manchester United just hit with numerous problems on the back line. Marcus Royo, dislocated shoulder last week. So we'll talk a little bit about that with Thea as well. That's coming up at 11 o'clock with expert physios Thea Gibson on the injury report. Let's dive back into the starting 11 now. Few more to go, and we're at number 7 on the starting 11. And it has to do with the dispersal draft and Chivas USA. Those players will be made available, like I said earlier in the program. On Wednesday, they do the weighted lottery as to who gets to pick first all the way through to 20th. Teams that have made the Major League Soccer playoffs this season get 1 envelope with their name on it. Teams that miss the playoffs get 2 envelopes, so they have a greater chance of getting a higher pick. But Simon, if you're in charge of the Vancouver Whitecaps, if you're Carl Robinson, head coach, making this decision, in the dispersal draft of Chivas USA players, what would you do if you're in charge of the Whitecaps?
I would select a player or more than one player if there's an opportunity to add to the squad depth. For example, I like the idea of Vancouver taking Eric Avila and adding him in order to get a little more competition in midfield. I think that's possible. I think that's certainly one angle to take into consideration here. There are some good pieces in there that, more than anything of that Chivas USA squad, can just add some depth to any other squad in the league, and I think Vancouver needs to approach it in that way. I'm sure they'll have a variety of different scenarios, but I think that's got to be one of the main ones to consider.
Yeah, I would agree with you. Like I said earlier in the program, Dan Kennedy's there. You pick Dan Kennedy because that just pretty much guarantees that you're going to be able to end up with a number 1 goalkeeper after the expansion draft. And if you end up with 2, I'm sure somebody will take one of those players off your hand, whether it's David Osted, whether it's Dan Kennedy, but you should be able to get away with a number 1 goalkeeper. And I do like that, picking a guy like Eric Avila that you could put in the midfield. Useful player that you could play in Major League Soccer games if he doesn't get picked in the expansion draft. At the same time, a player that if he does get picked in the expansion draft, you're not losing anything that has been on your team. You're able to then protect another player and just make sure that more of the team that you have is going to be able to solidify. So I do like the same as you said, picking guys that have that good depth and give your team a better look and makes it a little bit more interesting to see if you can keep those players on. And do you even pick a player that you think you might be able to keep? The other option that I like is, right or left back. If there's somebody that's capable of starting, maybe you pick that player just as a little bit of protection, because as much as Ethan Sampson and Sam Adekubi are possibly some bright spots for the future, are they guys that are going to be able to play 34 games in Major League Soccer next year, play in Champions League, play in Amway Canadian Champion? You're going to need some depth and players there. And so that's why, like picking a right or a left back, just to give you that little bit of extra protection, might be a good idea as well for the Whitecaps. So depth definitely is the big thing for me.
Number 8, the Whitecaps have given their season ticket holders who renewed for 2015 a complimentary ticket, which is effectively a 2-for-1 deal for the Caps' 2 CONCACAF Champions League group stage matches, or a credit. What would you take?
I would take the 2-for-1 deal. I'm a big fan of going to see the CONCACAF Champions League and seeing what it's all about, seeing some new teams play, and getting a 2-for-1 deal on that, basically paying for one of the 2 games. I like that idea. The reason they did it is because the Whitecaps didn't get that second Amway Canadian Championship game this year, and so they offered that up. So I think it's a great idea, and I think it also just enables the Whitecaps to get bigger crowds to those Champions League games as well, and really I think drives a little bit more of an audience to those games. So it's I think is a good move on both accounts from the Vancouver Whitecaps, but I would take the 2-for-1 deal for sure.
I would do as well, because I want to watch certainly Champions League soccer live, and the Whitecaps in this competition for some time, and it was something that I think they should take as an option. I think the other thing that could be factored in terms of why they've done this is the fact that They won't know what group stage or what group they'll be drawn into and with what teams until sometime, I think, in late May. And then the schedule being formalized, I think, around Canada Day, which is, if you base it on the timelines for what they did to set up the current competition, which is the 2014-15 one. So probably because of that, they've also kind of given the fans the option on that as well. And for me, yeah, it doesn't really matter who the team is. I think they need to I would take the complimentary ticket over necessarily the credit, especially if you get a big Liga MX team from Mexico.
Definitely. Number 9 on the starting 11, Marco Bustos is back with the Canadian U20 squad after a brief flirtation with Chile earlier in the year. Canada is, of course, preparing for the CONCACAF Championships. Do you think Bustos stays Canadian?
I think so. It sounded to me that when he went to the Chile camp, it was a one-off appearance that ended abruptly, and I don't think they necessarily, from the sounds of it, had any further interest in looking at him further. So certainly as an international, I think Canada is probably going to be his best option. And I hope he looks at it that way, because certainly from this under-20 squad that he's part of and the players that are in it, I think it's a very good-looking squad and one that I would be quite encouraged to see do well in the CONCACAF Championships in January and go to possibly the Under-20 World Cup in New Zealand next year.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of exciting opportunities there, and it's also, you look at the team and there's, a bunch of guys that he plays right here in Vancouver with that are on that squad, and so it's a lot of family, you would say, with that team, and it's nice to see him building a rapport with those guys, and it would be nice to see him build that rapport with both the national team and with the Whitecaps and really build on that, and it would be nice to see him continuing to grow in the Canadian system where he's played some games, and they've really kind of given him a lot, I think, throughout the years of being a part of a variety of different teams. And so I would hope that he stays Canadian, and I think he will end up in the long run stay Canadian and be a major part of that squad moving forward.
Number 10, the Canadian men's national team announced their roster for the upcoming friendly against Panama, which is on November 18th. Which players are you most interested in seeing play?
Yeah, you know what? Well, one, I think Russell Tybert is obviously the big name there because he's back with the squad. And to see exactly where he fits in and to see exactly how he is going to join up with this squad. So for me, that's exciting to see him play. But I also look at the players like a guy like Jonathan Osorio and to see how he can take his game to another level. Playing with Major League Soccer, had a couple injury problems, but had a great start to the season. Can he return to that? And can him and perhaps a Russell Tybert really create a good partnership and maybe be a partnership moving forward here in the future? And so those two are the two guys that I'm really looking forward to seeing as a combo and whether they can complement one another and be something big for Canada. Because right now, in Major League Soccer anyway, right now, those are two bright spots, I think, with Canadian players in mind.
Yeah, I looked at Russell Tybert as being the one I'm interested in seeing because, again, like you have said, I want to see how Benito Floro is going to use him because he has been used in such a versatile way here in Vancouver that there's a sense of he could be used in a very similar utility player type way in the national team. And I think the idea of him and a potential partnership with Jonathan Osorio sounds very interesting for sure. The other guy I'm really interested in looking at is seeing if Marcus Haber could take advantage of the opportunity, which I think is a wide open sort of race to who can really be the frontline striker in this national team. I don't really think, for as much as there's been, that Tosaint Ricketts has been given a lot of chances to play up front and whatnot, that Floro is necessarily settled on who he would like to have as a striker. And I keep thinking if Marcus Haber has gotten an opportunity here to really put himself at the forefront as one of the striking options in the team.
And it is also obviously always interesting to see how the players from unattached Sands Club play in the national team setup, which included Adam Straith and Julian de Guzman. Always a popular team with the Canadian national team, the club team that is called Unattached Sands Club.
Very transparent they are, yeah.
And finally on the starting 11, it is number 11. And Tesho Akindele declined the invite to the Canadian national team camp, which opens tomorrow on Sunday, November 9th. Probably due to commitments with FC Dallas as they have a playoff game in Seattle on Monday. There's also talk that he could join the U.S. men's national team, and Jurgen Klinsmann making the call to Tesho Akindele earlier in the week saying, we'd like to pick you for the U.S. team. Should Dallas get knocked out of the playoffs, though, should Canada call him again and say, we want you again to come play for us before you decide anything with the U.S.?
Got a feeling they already know the answer to this question, and I think if he is, as was reported earlier this week by my Goal.com colleague, Ivis Galarsep, that he said yes to the Americans. I think, sadly, he, much like so many before him, and particularly Teal Bunbury comes to mind, he's going to probably be playing in American colors. And it's just another player that's fallen through the cracks with the Canadian national team who had more than one nationality. And I think particularly in this case, it's particularly sad because he would have offered something very, very different in the attack. We've spoken about it before in terms of how big and strong he is, big target guy. Canada haven't really had someone like that since the days of John Catliff and even Alex Bunbury, Teal's father. So I think, unfortunately, we're never going to find out because I think he has decided that the red, white, and blue is what he wants to do.
Yeah, sadly, I think it's the case. And, we just talked about, saying Marcus Haber, here's an option for him to go up front and really take that forward position. Tesho Akindele could have been that player that walked in there and said, you know what, guys, sorry, this is my job, and I'm taking it, and I'm going to keep this job and really make something out of it. But like you said, it looks like he's going to decline and play for the U.S. national team. And, one of those guys that, like Teal Bunbury, could make a few appearances and then disappear from the scene. Whereas if, he played for Canada, he could be there for a very long time.
If he had said yes, come into the Panama game, and the impact he could have had in that against a CONCACAF opponent, big guy up front, that could have really turned a lot of heads, and many people would have said, yeah, this is an excellent option for us. But sadly, I don't think we're ever going to find out.
Yeah, it's just another one of those disappointing situations when you think about it, and never really getting that opportunity to see what he can do in a Canada shirt. And you look at Teal Bunbury, for example. He played at the U17 and U20 level. He played 3 games for Canada. Played 3 games for the U.S. and the U23 team, then has played 4 games for the U.S. national team. And you just have to think to yourself, probably would have been up around 30, maybe now, for Canada. So disappointing, I think, for a lot of people if Tesho Akindele again chooses to go elsewhere and not play for Canada.
Yeah, I would agree.
All right, a quick timeout. When we return, we will get some of the scores from England, but we'll also share some of the scores from the NASL playoffs, which are underway, and some Whitecaps connections getting into the final round. That's coming up, as well as Around the Globe. And the English Scoreboard with Simon is coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at SoccerTalk650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Not that your stylist at the salon isn't doing a good job, but man, you deserve the big red leather barber chair experience of Barber & Co. Here's how it works. Go to barberandco.ca. Book your appointment at one of the 5 barber shops in Gastown, Yaletown, the Financial District, Cambie at 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. You can just walk in, too, and get your hair cut, hot shave, buzz cut, fade, or beard trim experience. A great wedding party idea, too. barberandco.ca.
Talk about beautiful goalkeeping. During Winterfest, Kia Vancouver is stopping all payments on new 2015 Kia models till next year and stopping winter with a holiday bonus of up to $1,000 towards a 2015 winter-ready model with loads of heated features and rugged winter tires. Hurry in for all the Winterfest saves at Kia Vancouver, where you get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
Nearly 70 years ago, Charlie Wolford first started fixing loggers' boots. He did such a good job, loggers said if he'd make boots from scratch, they'd buy them and tell their buddies. Charlie named his brand Dayton, and ever since, Dayton Boots has put the same craftsmanship and love in every pair built right here in Vancouver. Times change, but the quality in every handcrafted pair of Dayton boots never has. Mention Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk and take 10% off Dayton boots, 2250 East Hastings. Dayton, wear a legend that lasts.
Pain or injury slowing you down? Take it to the choice of many top athletes, Expert Physio. Serving the Lower Mainland for over 35 years, the team at Expert Physio is dedicated to individualized care with specialized services such as orthotics, acupuncture, IMS, plus dizziness, pelvic floor, and certified hand therapies. Over 300 physicians referred to Expert Physio last year, and 100% of patients surveyed said they choose Expert Physio again. You're in good hands with Expert Physio. Burnaby Heights or at 8 Rinks, expertphysio.ca.
Hey! We're the box of nails you're selling to the man trying to build a deck?
Trying is right. Poor guy has no clue.
He comes back to your hardware store every day looking for new supplies and advice.
So the least you can do is reward his loyalty with fast debit and credit card payment processing from Moneris.
When your entrepreneurship meets their ingenuity, they call it entreprenuity.
Clever.
And you can get a gift worth up to $500 to make it work for you.
See how at Moneris.com.
Or call 1-800-MONERIS.
Hi, I'm Jack McIver. All dishwashers are not created equal. And then 7 years ago, I found Ariston with a 2-year full guarantee, made in Italy and priced from only $6.95 with an all stainless steel interior. And since then, nearly 400 have been sold by McIver's. Ariston dishwashers are quiet, efficient, lowest water and power usage, super clean dishes and pots and pans. Why settle for less? Ariston from McIver's. McIver's, 610 Southeast Marine Drive. Call 879-5222 or find us on the net at mcivers.biz.
This is Kia Vancouver's Soccer Talk on CIL 650. Now broadcasting from the Barber & Co. studios. Here's your host, Tyler Green.
We'll get to headlines from around the globe in just a matter of minutes. Simon's got the England scoreboard as well, but caller number 11 right now to 604-280-0650. That's 604-280-0650. Picks up the combo Whitecaps toque, Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk scarf. We're trying to keep you warm as the temperatures cool down here in Vancouver. Caller number 11, 604-280-0650, picks up the Keeping You Warm prize pack from us here at Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk as Simon gives us some of the scores over in England.
Yes, indeed. It was Liverpool 1, Chelsea 2, stay undefeated today. Burnley beat Hull City by a goal to nil, and so did Manchester United over Crystal Palace 1-0. High-flying Southampton 2, Leicester City 0, and it was West Ham United 0, Aston Villa 0, and QPR held to a 2-2 draw by Manchester City after, I think, being 2-0 up at one point. There were 4 goals tomorrow. Sunderland v Everton, Spurs v Stoke City, West Brom play Newcastle, and Swansea play Arsenal.
All right, let's check the latest headlines from around the globe, taking a look at the news, notes, and rumors from around the globe. Brought to you by Steve Nash Sports Clubs. That's snclubs.com. Toronto FC are trying to organize It's a Bloody Big Deal, the sequel, with talk that they have approached both Steven Gerrard of Liverpool and Wesley Sneijder, who currently plays for Galatasaray. Would be very interesting to see if both of those players show up for a year and then move on. But that's the latest bloody big deal, as it looks like Jermaine Defoe is out at TFC. Meanwhile, Real Madrid are willing to sell Gareth Bale to Manchester United in January, probably for a large sum of money. And they plan to move instead for Chelsea's Eden Hazard as a replacement. Oh, what it would be nice to have that kind of money to throw around. Playing FIFA 15, I recently purchased both Cristiano Ronaldo and Gareth Bale from Real Madrid for £190 total. Or, sorry, $190 million.
That's a bit of a difference from 190 pounds.
Yes. Oddly enough, I sold. I picked up David De Gea for $16 million, and sold Manuel Neuer for $120. So that's a good bit of business right there.
Great bit of business. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm doing excellent in the FIFA 15.
It'd be great bit of business if the money was actually tangibly real as well.
Yeah. The best part of that game is the fact that if you are the manager of Real Madrid or Barcelona, for example, the transfer kitty that they give you is literally like $60 million. Here's $60 million. When in reality, it's pretty much like, here's $200 million to go buy some players. So it's the one downfall of the game. Simon, you've got some scores from the NASL. The finals coming up.
Yes, indeed, and it's congratulations to the Fort Lauderdale Strikers and the San Antonio Scorpions. San Antonio are going to host the Strikers next Saturday in the NASL Championship Final. That was after the semifinals tonight. Fort Lauderdale winning 5-4 on penalties after a 1-1 extra time draw with Minnesota United, who were the #1 team all season, so a bit of an upset there. And San Antonio defeated the New York Cosmos by a score of 2-1 at home after extra time. So it's San Antonio hosting Fort Lauderdale in the championship final next Saturday night.
Right now, Kia Vancouver is offering free oil changes, car washes, and airport parking and shuttle service. It's only at BC's #1 Kia dealership, Kia Vancouver, 396 Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon, KiaVancouver.com. Tonight's Barber poll: which 11 Whitecaps do you protect in the upcoming MLS expansion draft? You can give us your thoughts. Simon and I will share our thoughts in the second half of the program. A couple people weighing in on the poll question that we'll share. And like I said, I think a lot of people are very similar. Glass City FC saying Osted, Beitasher, Watson, Leverone, Harvey, Kofi, Laba, Morales, Rosales, Mesquita, and Fernandez. It's very similar to Oscar Melander, who says Morales, Laba, Kofi, Waston, Osted, Beitasher, Fernandez, Leverone, Hurtado, Rosales, and Maddox, mostly because I want the Caps to actually get something for him when he leaves. So very similar, just one or two players difference. So it'll be very interesting when Simon and I share you our thoughts on who should be protected and not protected coming up in the second half of the program. We'll do that at about 11:15 this evening. Big congrats to Craig Rempel, who picked up the combo Whitecaps, Kia Vancouver toque, and the Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk scarf as we try to keep you warm here in Vancouver. Craig from Delta calling in on the program. Up next, it's Expert Physio's Thea Gibson. We're going to chat some injuries coming up next.
Follow us on Twitter at Soccer Talk 650 and at Tyler Green FC. This is Kia Vancouver Soccer Talk on CIL 650.
Whether playing soccer on this continent or football on every other, Umbro is the name worn by top players and teams worldwide. Those same uniforms are available for your team or club at Umbro.com. Umbro, proud to be the official supplier of Canada's men's and women's national teams, is celebrating 90 years of expertise in the game. If you want your club to play like the pros, dress them like the pros at Umbro.com. Umbro, the heart and soul of football.
Talk about beautiful goalkeeping. During Winterfest, Kia Vancouver is stopping all payments on new 2015 Kia models till next year and stopping winter with a holiday bonus of up to $1,000 towards a 2015 winter-ready model with loads of heated features and rugged winter tires. Hurry in for all the Winterfest saves at Kia Vancouver, where you get free lifetime car washes, oil changes, and free airport shuttle and parking with your new Kia purchase. Kia Vancouver, Southwest Marine Drive at Yukon and KiaVancouver.com.
The family story begins generations ago on Via Tevere, a street in the heart of Naples, where food was the celebration of life. Today in East Van, Via Tevere Pizzeria Napoletana honors their family heritage with La Vera Pizza Napoletana, pizza that showcases authentic Neapolitan ingredients and the time-honored tradition of wood-fired cooking. Come experience La Vera Pizza Napoletana, true Neapolitan pizza at Via Tevere Pizzeria, 1190 Victoria Drive, and look for the Via Tevere Neapolitan Express food cart around town.
The Straight Razor Shave, a leading man classic. Steady hand coaxing the rugged face back to smoothness. This nearly lost art has found revival at Barber & Co. Hot towel, straight edge blade, and your face. It's an experience that reminds you you're alive. You're a man in the company of history's finest men. Start at barberandco.ca. Pick your barber shop in Yaletown, Gastown, the Financial District, Cambiet 18th, and now Main Street and 12th Avenue. And relax into the big leather chair for the shave of your life.
It's me, Mary Poppins, returning to the Stanley Industrial Alliance stage just in time for the holidays. Experience the magic and get swept away with enchanting musical numbers like Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, Step in Time, and more.
Disney's Mary Poppins starts December 5th at the Stanley Industrial Alliance stage. Tickets start from just $29 at artsclub.com. Mary Poppins, that's artsclub.com.
It's practically perfect in every way.
These are the sounds of impaired driving. And then...
I don't think he's gonna make it.
When you drive impaired, there's a price we all pay. Emergency response costs, doctors, caregivers, and more. Studies show that impaired driving costs us billions of dollars each year. But the victims of impaired driving pay the biggest price.
Change for the better.
Mad Canada, helping the victim, stopping the crime.